Today, we are going to have the second session for the virtue of execution. If you would like to achieve your big dream, you have to execute it. Execution is the second virtue of 8 virtues of navigatorship. In the 11th session, we talked about execution, occupation, and work and life balance. Today, we are going to talk about modesty, resilience, habit, motivation, time, and competitive cooperation. Modesty's lexical concept is a state that is neither too much nor too little, but it is balanced, and is in a state of being clear, unchanging. For the scholars of the Chosun Dynasty in which Confucianism was brought to life, meditation has been regarded as a very important guide for action. Meaning is like putting leaves on an arrow. If an arrow penetrates a leaf, it is overflowing. If an arrow does not fall on a leaf, it is insignificant. In other words, the arrowhead is plugged into the leaves. If you pass it, it is like being short. The common concept of Middle Eastern and Western is not overpaid. Human beings are overdamped or inadequate, but it is the same for both the East and the West to take into consideration the various possibilities that exist between the two extremes. However, it is not fixed. It is ideal as well as very realistic. Given the conditions of reality, it is looking for the best possible. If it is filled with bad conditions, lesser evil might be a moderate. That is to say, just beside one of the two extremes may be medium. What is not as good as lack is also excessive. The meaning of the motto is also the boundary between right and wrong. Originally, the motto was a liquor pot which was tilted when it was empty. It was a liquor pot that stood right if it contained half the drink and fell back when it was filled. It has a symbolic meaning that you should guard against the endless greed of man. There is no definite answer to how to live as right. It is wise to find a guideline of life somewhere in between, because it is not boastful whether it is too much or too little. Confucius has already said that when studying, it is necessary to observe the high and bright things thoroughly, but to practice immediately when practicing. It is a way or an attitude that does not slip, do not lean, and there is no overrun and no shortage in handling everything. Dawson, Yakyong Chung emphasized that human beings have to weigh one's feet, grab one's hands politely, keep one's mouth shut, straighten one's head, keep one's eyes firm, and have one's appearance faithful. The basis of every action is a gesture. Do not stand with your knees open, not with your hands putting back, when you are standing, and not with a kilter posture. You must not pursue your own greed. You cannot overflow your will, and you should not be too overjoyed. You should approach benevolent and wise people, and honor and fear them. You must build up your wealth, but know how to use it, and consider what you feel comfortable but know how to move it. Welcome your wealth, but do not try to acquire it obstinately. Do not try to get away from it when you are in trouble. Compete with each other, but do not try to win obstinately. Share things together, but do not try to have too much. Do not try to nitpick even though there is something questionable. Sincere behavior benefits others more, and human beings make oneself by doing action. In all things, good or ill luck follows each other. The economy is more like that. If the boom is good, the recession is bad. Life is not happy. This simple but wise truth is compressed into the word medium. You need to take a long breath to be serious. You need wisdom to look far. The best attitude to avoid extremes is moderate and neutral. In modern times, moderation is a way of avoiding both the extreme that knowing is a power, money, and the extreme that knowing is a disease. They are not just the forensic people who only take care of their own interests, but but the ordinary people who are not the Dacians who only look for external causes. The Ferengi are an alien race that appears in Star Trek and never behaves without benefit in any situation. The Dacians are those who obsess over their cause too much and ignore realistic interests, just like people who eat just do. The dictionary concept of resilience is the power to turn trials into good fortune, the strength to make difficulty and adversity a stepping stone to leap. The resilience has widely been used in terms of coping power, elasticity, flexibility, and recuperation power among scholars. It was widely known when Professor Ju Won Kim published his book, Resilience, in 2011. Resilience refers to the strength of the mind that bounces higher, with various adversities, trials, and failures, both large and small, as a leverage for leap. As each object has different elasticity, the elasticity varies according to the person. People who fall back to the bottom due to adversity and rebound with a strong resilience will often go higher than their original position. Individuals or organizations that have achieved sustained development or accomplished great achievements have in common with failures and adversities. Depending on what unfortunate events or adversity are given, they can become unhappy and happy. The habit of accepting the affairs of the world in a positive way improves resilience. Resilience refers to the strength that can rise from the bottom of your life, and the strength of your mind to bounce back from the bottom even when you fall to the bottom. Resilience is another name for flexibility. In a changing age, you must be as flexible as a reed. Reeds are flexible, so they do not break in the wind and survive. It is the reed's survival law that leaves the body in the wind and wobbles around. Reeds are easily embraced by small winds, and even in the Bible, they are a symbol of weakness and fickleness. You should be able to adapt to the situation like a chameleon that changes your body color according to the surrounding color. In all sports, such as skiing, diving, gymnastics, tennis, body flexibility is always basic. Flexibility should resemble water. Everything must flow like water. It does not rot when it flows without clogging. Money flows, culture flows, information flows, and our thoughts must flow. Our bodies must flow like water. There is a saying Shang Shan Ruo Shui in Lao Tzu. Shang Shan means the highest goodness, in other words, the greatest goodness. Ruo Shui means it equals the water. Therefore, it means that the highest goodness equals the water. Why did Lao Tzu compare the greatest goodness to water? This is because water has the following properties. First, water represents fairness. The flow of water from top to bottom is to maintain level. Even if there is a slight difference between the upper and lower sides, it must flow down to keep it level. The level is fair. Second, water represents perfection. When the water flows down, even if there is a very small pit, it flows completely filling it. Therefore, the water level is perfectly horizontal. Third, water changes without limit and does not lose its essence. When you put water into a square bowl, it turns into a square. When you put it in a round bowl, it turns round. However, when you pour such water, it always has its original nature. Fourth, water is modest. Water is the most important source of life, but it always flows down and moistens everywhere underneath. Lao Tzu seems to have pursued life like water. Habits lexical concept is a way of behaving spontaneously in the process of repeating an act for a long time. Habits are the best servants or worst masters. A habit is like a twisted steel wire. Every day, when you twist a thin wire, it becomes an uncuttable iron wire. Such habits as greeting, habits of dressing, reading habits, habits of spending money, habits of earnestly listening to the story of the other, habits of taking care of the opponent's position, and habits of observing the backside make people successful or spoiled. Habit is an important factor for achieving a happy success, just like the foundation work of architecture. Once formed habits are difficult to change. They should have good habits from the beginning. The habit is to weave the rope every day, and this habit of hanging does not change easily. In psychology, there are various opinions such as the 21-day rule, the 30-day rule, and the 66-day law in order for something to become a habit. The 66-day rule is that you set a big, clear goal for what you want for 66 days and become a habit when you practice it every day. Try 66 times, read 66 books, and repeat for 66 days. Then personality can change and fate can change. Habits have the power to overcome knowledge, surpass the environment, and change science. The habit is being a visitor of our life at first, but becoming a regular and a master later. This is the habit that leads to success or pulls it down to the hell of failure, not only as a servant of the great man, but also as the master of all those who fail. From the time you get up in the morning until you go to bed at night, human behavior is made up of 80% of habits and 20% of new behaviors. Acting, as usual, you do not even realize why you have acted like that. The important thing is that habitual handling affects your lives. The decision after you agonize about how to make a choice is only a small part. Habit is an area of unconsciousness rather than a domain of consciousness. It takes a lot of conscious effort to master habits, but once habits become part of it, habits lead unconsciously when the body and mind are tired and thus hard to think, and when you have no motivation because life is tired. What you have to do now for happy success is to change the habit of dominating your day. There is a goal for ordinary people, but it is not supported by habits. You would have received many questions from your childhood about, what do you want to be? At that time, you would have said, I want to be a lawyer, and I want to be a doctor. To become such a person, you have to get used to a short sleep time from your childhood. In order to achieve that goal, you have to sleep less than others, and yet have a job to sleep less than others even after you achieve it. Once you learn small habits appropriate to your goals, it makes you easy to reach your goal. A lucky person or a person to seize a good fortune is someone who can make a small commitment to change habits. Set goals and challenge yourself as fast as you can. To do so, raise your own habits and keep them. It is the fastest time when you think it is late. No one is late. If you think that you are late, do not go through just one habit, but two or three habits at a time. Then you can catch up enough. You should make room for a good habit. It only grows to the height that you think you can reach. Make your dreams that you pursue achieved. They should be designed by head and chest and executed by hands and actions. One of the habits of those who have achieved a happy success is to use the principle of the three minds. It means an initial, enthusiastic, and sincere mind. Initial mind means that when you start work, you set your goals and make an oath with your heart, and zeal is the attitude of fulfilling all the enthusiasm during the course of work. And the endurance mind is a persistent push to the end without giving up in the middle. Regardless of bad habits or good habits, the more you repeat, the more you become addicted to it and you believe strongly that it is a habit you really need. Life is the sum of the thoughts in time and space, and the idea is to choose when, where, what, and how. A wise choice results in wise behavior and becomes a habit when the action is repeated. Motivation's lexical concept is to stimulate people to take action. Human beings are constantly seeking to grow for better living and securing the conditions of race conservation, which is a natural trait of human beings embedded in genes during the evolutionary process. 32.87% of workers responded that they would hire a type of person who is enthusiastic and can motivate themselves if they are CEOs. According to Maslow's 5 needs of desire, human desire consists of 5 stages: basic desire, safety desire, social desire, respect desire, and self realization desire. These 5 desires do not occur at the same time, but when the sub desires are satisfied, the next stage of the upper desires arises. Therefore, in order for an action to meet the needs of a certain stage to be initiated, it means that the lower needs must be met first. Maslow called it the progression principle. There is criticism that human desire is not necessarily satisfied step by step, but it is content to be referred to in its own way. You must become motivators for yourselves. And you have to act as a motivator for others. The more difficult it is to take the opportunity, the more hopefully you have to accept the situation positively. Motivation raises desire to accomplish. In psychology, motivation theory is used to stimulate the living body to act, and it means to stimulate learners' learning motivation in education. In business administration, it is also a management methodology that offers various compensation for improved performance. The most important thing for motivation is the establishment of systematic and concrete goals. You have to build a goal that you desperately want, and you must have a strong belief that this goal will be realized. In other words, having a strong belief in the realization of this goal will be a constant motivation to achieve the goal. In addition, the organization must make reasonable compensation for its efforts to motivate its members to achieve the next step. For example, if a player who plays an outstanding minor in a minor league continues to stay in the minor league, the player loses his goal for the top and becomes a minor leaguer for a minor league game, not a minor leaguer who dreams of a major league. Time's lexical concept is from one view to another. Everyone lives 86,400 seconds a day. Whether rich or poor, 86,400 seconds every day is all. It is neither given more nor given less. It is not possible to save what is left, nor can you sell it to another person nor provide it as collateral. So time is everything. Time connects to the past, present, future, but the most important thing is the present, and now. The ruler of time ruled the world and ruled his destiny. You must live every moment important. Time does not wait for anyone. So yesterday is the past history, the future is unknown. It is only today you can spend. Time is like a running river, and it cannot be stopped or reversed. Nevertheless, you always act as though there is endless time even though you are living with your mouth saying that there is no time. Life is a game without rehearsal. Between the past and the future, today is real life. There is a practice given for others, but in life, practice is not given. Everyday life is a main game and competition. So every day is important. Lysippus is an ancient Greek sculptor. He put a thin bald head sculpture on his bangs and put it in his garden. People who saw the sculpture laughed at the ridiculous figure at first, and it is said that their heart went cool when they saw the poem inscribed under the statue. Part of the poem made up of the dialogue begins like this: Who are you? I am the time to rule everything. Why are the bangs coming down the head? It is to be able to catch me easily. Then why is the back hair bald? Because nobody can catch me after I pass by. This sculpture, with its wings on its heels and shoulders and its sword and scales in its hands, is the image of the Greek, Kairos god, which means appropriate time, circumstances and opportunities. If you start postponing what you need to do next, you have a habit of putting off. It is easy to do it right now if you have to do it anyway. You think today is the last day of your life and you have to do your best to do what you do today. Time is a source of competitive advantage. There are those who work as if they have not been able to keep up with the deadline, and there are those who seem to have a good outlook on the outside. The world is divided into fast and slow. It is easy to say that the fast man dominates the slow person. Happiness, health, wealth, power, and reputation that each pursues can be obtained through efficient time management. Everyone is equally given 24 hours, but they are divided into people with time and people without time. Comparing the hours of work for workers, the earliest people who come to work at 7 a.m. are the bosses, and the next is the department head at 8 o'clock. And at the end of the day, looking at the 9 o'clock, the people who enter the office hurriedly are called regular employees. There is a huge difference in the results between those who go out early in the morning and vigorously spend 86,400 seconds a day and those who kill their time coming to the office forcibly because they cannot do otherwise. The people living with hard earners who save 86,400 seconds a day and the ones who kill their lives for a while have a social and economic difference that cannot be compared in 10 years and 20 years. In reality, time starts with the birth of a person and eventually there is only time for each person. Time is life and life is only in our minds. All of the proverbs like Thich Nhat Hance, Live the Present, Message and Alfred D. Sia's, Live, as if it is the last day, were all teaching the present time to be full. Among the excuses, the most foolish and unfortunate excuse is that there is no time. The future is approaching hesitantly. Now it flies like an arrow, and the past is forever stopped. Everyone has bad luck and good fortune at the same time. Out of 24 hours a day, in the 4 seasons a year, the time to work pleasantly is good luck. There is no chance for bad luck to come to those who work hard without missing this. So far I am the one of tomorrow. The result of yesterday and today is tomorrow. So if I talk about tomorrow and dream about the future, today is the time to change. Yesterday is past history, tomorrow is future, and to fill the gap is this moment, carpe diem. It means, this moment now, is your future and your dream. In that sense, our lives overlook the value of the present. We are always caught up in the past or filled with delusions about the future. But the real thing is always now. Today you spend in vain is the tomorrow that the dead yesterday so longed for. Life is completed by gathering moments of only one time present. The past cannot be reversed, and the future is unpredictable. The past cannot be caught again because it is the past, and the future cannot be obtained now because it is a continuation of the present. The speed of time that you perceive is always different, but the density of time is the focus. Time is immersed in something, but time drifts slowly. Time is an arrow when you do interesting things, but time is slow when you do things that are not fun. So time is a curve, not a straight line. The value of time comes from concentration and density. The absence of time is a sign of laziness. Time can be compressed to 10 times, 100 times. By increasing concentration and density, time efficiency can be improved. The start of self-management is to abandon the remnants of laziness and neglect. Time use is not a plan, and to erect a taboo is more important. The dictionary concept of competitive cooperation is a competitive, cooperative relationship. Competition should create a competitive partnership, frenemy partners rather than an enemy. If it is your will to play a game with an opponent, whether it is an individual or an organization, you should choose a way to be with the opponent rather than killing the opponent. This fact proves what actually happened in any softball game in the United States. One of the players hit the home run and was injured on the leg while running the base. If an athlete's assistant helps the injured athlete and passes the base, it will not be recognized as a score, but if the opponent's athlete helps, the score will be recognized. The team with the injured player wins, and the team with the helping player loses. This is possible because there is trust between each other and it represents a competitive cooperation relationship. It is impossible for individuals to live alone in modern society. You need to get help from someone and to help someone. However, cooperation and collaboration alone do not support this society. Fair competition develops this society in the right direction. Therefore, a friend's competitive cooperation, frenemy, friend and enemy, is an alternative. You have to compete and cooperate while competing. Each of them is only 50 points, but when they are combined, they can be over 100 points and 200 points. The world is now in a survival environment of global infinite competition. Competition cannot be eliminated. Competition in human society is inevitable. And sometimes competition is positive for socio-historical development, but it has limitations. Competition is meaningful under the premise of not destroying the cooperative system of coexistence, but the competition that destroys the cooperative system can become incapacitated. So you have to teach and learn coexistence before competition. Even if we say competition, we have to learn cooperation first. It should teach competition that does not destroy the cooperative system. In the 21st century, corporate competition is changing. The paradigm of competition is changing from infinite competition to competitive competition. Competition is emerging as an age of uncertainty in the 21st century in new wealth creation equations. Competition is a compound word that combines cooperation and competition. Partnership and competition are becoming the new management strategy for 21st century companies. The economics of this collaboration is an equation that yields more than 1 plus 1 equals 3, and is a solution that goes through the era of uncertainty. Cooperation is a strategy to create value, and competition is an activity that promotes this value. Companies need to create a system where war and peace exist at the same time, not a cycle of war and peace with their competitors. This cooperative economy is also called collabonomics. In competition strategy, who is the competitor is important. Competitors do not just fight each other, they learn the strengths and weaknesses of each other. So you have to meet a good competitor. If you look at your organization's competitors, you can see the future vision of that organization. It is most dangerous when you do not know who your organization's competitors are. Sociobiologists view society as a sculpture created by human nature rather than a rational invention. From Charles Robert Darwin, who organized the survival of the fittest to natural selection, to Richard Dawkins of the selfish gene, biologists have emphasized that selfish competition is the driving force of evolution and history. On the other hand, the recently emerging Darwinist left, such as William Hamilton, see collaboration, is an important human nature. We always work together in competition. Obviously, regardless of whether an individual chooses to compete or collaborate, the society as a whole must have more profits than damages. So society develops. Sometimes competition is necessary, but you have to work together to get away. Cooperation can be damaging at the moment, but if you are doing mutual cooperation for the future, you must choose cooperation. The wisdom of cooperation should be exercised rather than intense competition. There is a proposition called winner's curse. It means winning, but actually losing. If you offer an excessive amount of money in order to take the goods in the auction, you will have to pay a higher price than the actual price. Through competitiveness, you need to find a way for you to live and for the opponent to live. When you think about happy success, it is important to move to action. One more act than 1,000 times of prayer changes me and changes the world. I like it, I do well, I find something worthwhile. But if not, I will do my best. When working, concentrate on work and maintain work and life balance. Work hard when you work. Even when playing, play hard. In work or life, you keep moderation rather than excess or lack. Think flexible, and if you cannot avoid it, have a willingness to enjoy it. Keep good habits and keep bad habits away. You do your best to make an event for yourself and to achieve your dreams. Time is the most precious asset, so you care about time management so you do not waste time. Cooperate with fair competition and mutual cooperation to increase value added.